Okay, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. Today I'm going to try to cover a kind of abstract idea that I muddled together called one star, where, in essence, to save humanity, we have to consider the worst off, the biggest losers, and, the shadow of humanity. And so if you have patience for that, let's watch the intro, and then I'm going to talk about this idea, and I'm also going to pull in some politics, like recent stuff with the United Nations and all of that. So, if you will, 4 minutes, and we'll be right back. Thanks.
But when the show finally turned on for the first time to get the bugs worked out, it was finally in a position where we could turn it on. I had tears in my eyes. There was some problems, there were some bugs that needed to be worked out, little knick-knack, little stuff. But it didn't matter. I seen it. They came to life. For 25 years they've been sitting in a crate, and I just breathed the first breath of life into them. And, yet again, there's no words to describe it. I sat here and I cried like a child because my dream had just came true.
I never walk about after dark. It's my point of view. 'Cause someone could break your neck, coming up behind you, always coming, and you never have a clue. And now I look behind all the time. I will wait forever, always looking straight, thinking, counting all the hours you wait. See you on a dark night. 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 And now another clue I would ask if you could help me out. It's hard to understand, 'cause when you're running by yourself, it's hard to find someone to hold your hand. No, it's gonna be tough for me, but I will wait for you. I need someone else to look into my eyes and tell me, girl, you know you gotta watch your health. To look into my eyes and tell me, la 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 la. To look into my eyes and tell me, la 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 la. La 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 la. To look into my eyes and tell me, la 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 la. La 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 la. See you on a dark night. See you on a dark night. See you on a dark night. See you on a dark night.
But when the show finally turned on,
Uh-oh, whoopsie doopsie. Hang on, I got a proper mess going on, huh? All right. So, how do we introduce this? I had a pretty comfortable life for most of my life until the shit hit the fan. And I don't know, you meet some kinds of people, right? You'll meet people that are a little bit more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and maybe they don't have that wariness that someone else that's had to deal with the harsh realities of the world would carry with them. You know, like some kind of poise where you're more aware of your setting, you're kind of, you know, maybe you don't take things for granted as much. It's very different than the Sunday brunch mimosa crew where you're just hanging out and enjoying your food and basically detached from reality, right? So there seems like there's two segments of people. This comes up a lot with health. Pre-health crisis, post-health crisis. And a lot of people in middle age, you see them, you know, divert two different ways in whether or not they can turn their life around or not. But that's all to lead up to say, it was fun to be on the winning, happy, nothing's going wrong side. But then when I had cancer happen, I had divorce happen, I had a house fire, I had, you know, all kinds of subjugation by others, right? Like, it's just sad, right? And in essence, as a person, whether or not I invited it into my life, I had to endure being eviscerated by the winds and the lashes of the world. And so what is one star? When you find yourself at the bottom of the well and you find yourself without many allies, without, you know, much support, there's still something that, whether or not you wish for it to happen, you find things to survive off of. And if that means that you're drinking pond water or, you know, just doing miserable things, there is something about enduring the pit and the misery and the bottom of the well, right? Like there's something to that. And so one star emerged for me as a way of coping. And it is, if you think about like alpha, beta, sigma, the sigma male mindset is like, well, we were playing football, but to me, I wanted you to win, and so me losing is me winning, right? So the sigma male mindset flips things around, but it becomes like a contortionist activity where it's like rationalizations and bullshitting. I'm happy my wife is getting off with another person, right? And maybe there is something nice, like, oh, it is good for her to have this relationship, but for somebody to not grasp that there's peril and risk and an intimacy loss there is, you know, disconnected, right? So with one star, we think about the worst of the worst. Everyone has their different elements, and in us we have our virtuous, you know, most actualized, most developed and refined qualities, but we also have within us our shadows and all of the grittier, you know, more primal things. And part of one star there is integrating our lesser nature. And this is the strange thing of, if you've ever spoken with people, this is kind of like the chaste Christian or something, where it's like that, you know, you overcompensate. And so you have like an evangelical Christian pastor who gets caught smoking meth and having, you know, homosexual sex with gigolos or something, right? And so there's like a repression of their shadow compared to maybe somebody that has spent more time integrating their shadow and has, in essence, like comes to terms with their lesser nature, right? Like there is something about, if we comprehend in a situation of like despair, if we can connect with that terrified person while we're not in that terrified state, maybe that can help us bridge in a way of, if we are in a state of despair, we will know we can climb out of it. Because the thing that it breaks my heart, and it's a gross, it's such a waste. There are so many young people that are committing suicide now, or even if they aren't, like slow or fast, right? Like they're disengaging in a nihilistic fashion. Maybe they're chain smoking cigarettes and then drag racing motorcycles and stuff like that, right? These are people that have chosen to not be connected with life and being alive. And why do I bring that up? That's not an integration of the shadow. If you follow me on that, that is somebody becoming completely enveloped, like they're head to toe, they're submerged in shadow, and they have no balance. There's no middle path, yin yang, any of that kind of stuff. And there's a sense of abandonment of maybe what could have been and what may be of them, right? So one star doesn't suggest that we just do our least thing, but the idea of one star then would be, we can't erase that portion. And it's weird to think, and this is where I end up in, when I'm thinking about situations, my mind tends to go toward the least voiced perspective. And so it tends to go toward something that may be less represented. Hold on, I didn't start Facebook. Good gracious. Whatever, Facebook will survive. There's this kind of silly thought that we can get rid of all the racists and stuff like that. Like, oh, if there's anyone objectionable, we can just ship them off and dismiss of them. But if we really were to do something like that, we're just eugenicists, right? Like we're just pruning the human race, and we're saying that you're acceptable, you're allowed to live, and you're not allowed to live, etc. For some reason, a lot of liberals have abandoned their humanitarian qualities, and they're completely dismissive, and almost like they've become galvanized in some sort of holy crusade against people that they've identified as unacceptable. Like if they're, they wear a red hat, or they pray to God or something, right? Who knows what it is, but anyone that wants to dream up a society, like a future destination, where their solution involves the mass incarceration or the mass murder of a segment of humans is not creative enough to lead us into any kind of decent future, right? Like if your way of delivering us to a good future is to annihilate a portion of humanity, that is not acceptable. And so one star stands for that group to some degree, right? This isn't to say like we're defending all the pedos and the RSOs or whatever it may be, but conceptually, for us to be able to conceive of a future where humans can cope with experience and temptation, our limbic system, our baser nature, all of those things, the answer is not elimination. It is a way of, we have to scaffold, right? We have to bridge to help people. I guess we can accommodate their needs, perhaps, in ways that don't involve the violation and desecration of other people, other consciousnesses, and things like that, right? It's not beyond us. And maybe I'm too hippy-dippy or whatever, but with all of technology, with everything we have, I guarantee you, if we spent our creativity more on how to find human gratification and contentment rather than how to exploit each other and disintegrate buildings and walls and babies and all of that. If we spent time on developing spiritual technology for us to feel well and to become more psychologically, socially, and emotionally evolved and developed, for our communities to become richer and to become more involved and supportive of each other. All of those things, we have to turn toward those that need us the most. And the one thing that's come up with modernity is a lot of the charity, volunteerism, and things like that have been completely colonized by nonprofit groups and things that have agendas, like Salvation Army. They'll feed and clothe you, but they'll also pitch God to you too, right? So there's always like it's not a bait and switch, right? But there's a give and take, because ultimately in a lot of these charities that try to help people, the people they help are more of a commodity and a little token that's used to raise money, right? Like, I'm going to run the cancer nonprofit and I'm going to probably, pay out in services and provisions maybe 10% of what you donate. And then the other 90% goes to corporate and to pay all of our other employees and to pay my salary or my, retirement, but it becomes washed out. To commercialize charity and to commercialize helping the least well off, I guess they could say like capitalists would say that the market would have the best solutions, right? But I don't know if the things like the market, they've tried to throw all the money in the world at things like homelessness, and it hasn't had any kind of result. So it's not quite clear, how we would go with that. But drawing one star further, so the least off and the worst off, we just had a UN discussion where they were discussing Israel and Gaza and all of that. And the only two parties, America and Israel, they're the only ones that said there's nothing wrong. Everyone else in the entire UN security, the entire meeting said, hey, you guys need to stop it and chill out and all of that. And then, of course, the US and Israel said, oh, October 2023, all of that. And what's so strange is that since then, there's been innumerate bombings and, explosions, shots with weapons, sniper rifle fire on hospitals, all kinds of things. And there's so many to count. And it's interesting that they keep coming back to this October 2023 thing. And it's like they keep ringing the bell, ringing the bell, ringing the bell. Whenever you see representations of things like that, become highly suspicious, because what's happening now is they are taking these dead people, or these people in essence, like they say that they may be alive, return Uncle Shlomo. He's not going to come home, right? The Israeli military has already annihilated him, most likely. And it's just like so bizarre. And so now the one star has become commodified, right? The charity case, save the hostages, has become this totem that behind it is a militarized murder machine. And it's strange to see in broad daylight, they say, Because of this, we have now written off an entire group of people. And this entire group of people, we will no longer really acknowledge as worthy to exist. We will no longer spend a second breath or thought worrying about them. You can see how they've used one star with the hostages or the people, the citizens, the people that were just trying to go about their day, and they've flipped it around and actually used it to desecrate one star by annihilating and trying to annihilate a group of people. So briefly, genocide, I don't know, it has to be intentional and it has to be systematic. And at this point, it's hard to argue against it not being the case. It's not that we need to show any more evidence, it's that we need to see evidence that it's not that at this point. And there hasn't been sufficient evidence to disqualify it as a genocide. So, one of the things I argued in high school debate is if you commit an atrocity against the human race in any degree, whether it's in a small degree with, 3 or 4 people, or it's in a large degree of, like what's going on in many parts of the world or in history, you commit a degradation and a violation against all humankind because you're devaluing it. By your action, you're saying humankind isn't valuable. It's not worthy. We're not going to treat it with respect. Consciousness is not a miracle worth sanctifying, right? Genocide is contrary, explicitly contrary to conscience' primary belief, our core belief. So when you've decided to deliberately devalue a portion of humanity, you have thusly devalued all of humanity. And you are now engaging in bad faith. And in essence, the UN Security Council, Israel engages in theatrics like, ages ago, they brought out a miniature paper shredder and they shredded little papers from the past. The UN was created after World War II with an earnest wish that there would never be atrocities against humans like the Holocaust committed again. And so it's really bizarre to see America and Israel stand up against all these countries. Like, there's like African countries like Sierra Leone that are like, hey, what's up? Like, can you please, feed the kids and stuff? Like, so the Palestinian spokesperson finally came out. A brief history lesson, Osama bin Laden, one of his rationales for attacking the Twin Towers and attacking civilians in America, his rationale is that civilians are complicit, right? Since we're taxpayers, we live in America, we are part of the system. If American jets bomb his family, it's totally justified for him to fly our jets into a building in New York and make a bunch of people, suffer across the ocean, right? Because in essence, it's reciprocity. It's eye for an eye, right? That was Osama bin Laden's rationale for attacking the American citizens. Now, Israel and their military are attacking Palestinians that are not militant, haven't taken up arms. They may be families, they may be relatives. It's not a big place. Most of them, there's actually an inbreeding problem in Palestinian communities where there's a higher level of like hermaphroditism, like a chromosomal anomaly, chromosomal, I don't know, anomalies, because they don't really get around, right? Like you kind of have like the people in your village and you don't really get around. And so you have more inbreeding. So, sure enough, you have, and this is really grim, you have computer AI reviewing telecom traffic to do voice recognition, to identify words, to trace contacts, to in essence determine the targeting of bombs and explosives. And if the commanders wished for the military to be better managed, it would be better managed. And it's a failure if you see snipers shooting women or like civilians. It's a failure if you see non-military targets being exploded or this or that. Like it's all sad. So what we're seeing though is that the people that have decided to stand behind Israel have bought into the future where these, like this segment of humanity just no longer exists, and it's no longer polite to talk about it. And in essence, for us to carry on, it's like for us to have Christmas dinner, we have to all no longer consider that issue. Like that's, I don't know if it's true or not, but that's the claim that Saudi Arabia, the UAE, these different groups have basically decided, like a handshake, we will join the modern world economically and we will rid ourselves of the Palestinians and all of that. So the lead up now, with Israel using Osama bin Laden's rationale that he used on Americans, Israel is using that on Palestinians. The Palestinian spokesperson came out today and said, look, the Israel state, the Israel military can no longer use Jewish people as their shield. They do not represent Jewish people. They are not a defender of Jewish people. They don't ensure any safety. If anything, the militant nature of these radical war hawks have made it less safe to be a Jewish person living in Israel than otherwise, right? And so, like they're just completely abandoned. But he said they don't blame Jews abroad. They don't blame people that aren't doing the atrocities. That collective guilt, which is really blood feuding. Let's be completely real. It's blood feuding. That collective guilt is not an acceptable rationale to drive violent action. It's not okay to kill a child over some shit that his uncle did, right? It's weird. It's why are we still doing this? I don't know. But there's a segment of our world, and there are people that are in power, and there are people that, command all kinds of influence, that are gleeful, like they're giddy. If they read news reports of casualty numbers and things like that, they're like, yeah, that's it. We've accepted it. So 1 star, let's pull it back as I gather myself. A claim of the 1 star ethic would be that if we don't account for the biggest losers and the worst off in our world, we really won't make it. Like ultimately, we will always consume each other, and we will engage in ways that don't have harmony with human life and human well-being if we don't account for the worst off, the biggest losers, the least capable, all of that, right? We can't just be Spartans and be chucking people off the mountain all day. And we can't just say these people don't deserve to live and we can just erase them and forget about them, right? Like that's not, if you buy into that way of engagement, the path you follow then is the eradication of all human life. And in doing so, the extinguishing of a beautiful thing that is rare and precious. one star. Taking it greater, we have one planet. There's one habitable planet on our solar system. One chance, one star, one sun. Maybe eventually we'll figure out how to travel outside of our solar system, all of that. But there's this question of, is human life special? Is there something special about human life, or is it something that's abundant and it's like all over the place, right? Like if you go to China or India, you're like, God damn, there's humans everywhere. Get them away from me. There's too many humans, right? But if you go to the surface of the moon, you're like, this is really lonely. I wish there was someone else around here, to keep me company, or, So how do you look at humankind, right? We really only have ourselves so far, right? And really then we have to grasp with one star, we have to grasp our stakes are shared. The future of humankind, the future of all of our children, all of our loved ones, everything we may wish for, it depends on us having harmony and maintaining harmony with each other. And it's disturbing that we're still at it, right? Like we're still committing violence and things like that. And I guess it's not a surprise that there's a death obsession with our culture, with martyrdom and death and things like that. I want to address this mass shooting thing. There's been a lot of shootings. It goes back to misdirected violence once again. It's so weird to think that killing a few specific people will make a difference. And it's weird that people turn themselves into human like spears or something, right? Like I'm gonna launch my life into this thing and blow it up and blow myself up or this or that. There's been like an aggrandizing of going after people. It's kind of like that Instagram thing. Like it's really bad with the DC rapper scene, where if you're like live streaming at a chicken and waffle place, who knows, like if you're big enough in DC, some people might pull up and try to shoot you just so that they can get credibility. Like, oh yeah, we got little Johnny or something. Like it's so wild. And in a similar fashion, this CEO shooter guy, who knows, if he's innocent or not. All the it's like all this fast emerging news, but they're charging the guy Luigi. They're charging Luigi with terrorism charge because they thought, in essence, they're claiming his murder was intended to sow terror in the world, right? By killing this particular person in this fashion, he wants to sow terror and fear, and so they're upping the charges as a terrorist, and I think it's due because he is like it was just so radical. This CEO, it's not a life sentence. Like you don't serve as a CEO to die as a CEO, and he's just another person in the grander scheme where he has to be accountable to the different stockholders, right? Like he's just a simple person within it. And so what you see here is this guy, and the story kind of backs it up. He fell prey to the influences, people that take advantage of one star and prey upon people at their lowest lows and weakest states, right? Apparently he had a back injury. Maybe he couldn't get a boner anymore. He couldn't get off. He couldn't have relationships. Now he's all pissed off at everything, and now he's going to go and shoot his CEO, right? It all adds up. But for that to happen, you have to have the substrate, like the actual, the soil, for him to put the pieces together and to be so tormented to think the most important thing for me to do right now is to go and blast this guy, which is really a anti-human action, right? If he cares about saving people's lives, the best use of his effort, is it really to murk a guy? There is an inconsistency there, right? Like he does not care about human life. He is a glamorizer of violence, right? And there's now this whole enterprise where people are selling merchandise and shit. It's really offensive. I bet you this guy is like inspired by this stupid Joker movie and shit. I'm really offended by it. To put a pin in mass shootings, shooting a gun is the least creative thing you could probably do in this era, 2024. Shooting a gun is like really stupid, right? It doesn't take very much. You just do that and you shoot it. So why do people think that they're special, right? Oh, it's cool. Okay, I play video games too. But you got to check it at the door. And with mass shootings, really, we just need to treat it how it should be treated, where it's like these people are despicable. They're not creative. They're not interesting. What they have to say is not significant, because if it was significant, they would have made their point before they went on a freaking mass shooting, right? Like, it just doesn't add up. And so these people with misplaced grasps at significance and purpose turn their lives and their entire narrative into a projectile. And at what, right? One star thinks about that guy's kids. One star thinks about the person he could have met the next day. But yet, the hubris of a person, a human, to choose to snuff out a life, to think that they have the title to carry it on like that. It's not creative. This is like the old, you just get the rock and hit them with the rock, right? We've been doing it for millions of years. And so for anyone to think that there's anything, any glory or, any vanity to be had from committing violence, and specifically gun violence, right? Which is just whatever. It doesn't take much, right? Pew, pew, pew. If you use like a freaking cleaver, I don't know, like, I'm not going to inspire anything, but it's like, come on, guys. I'm against murder, because that's snuffing out human consciousness. It's very simple. It carries with the genocide thing, where if you devalue any human life, you have devalued all of human life by your action. It's not like you've just popped the whole bubble, but you're engaging in a way that is inconsistent with someone that wants humanity to persist. And that's all there is to it. There are people that are openly anti-life. Like, if you've bought the environment pill and you think, oh, we need to have a mass degeneration of society, we need to have billions of people die, mass starvation, a plague, who knows what, mass sterilization, people not having children. If you buy into that, then, okay, I hope, speak it clearly, but I'm not going to put you in a position where you're guiding our national policy, right? Like, why would I do that? If that's how you want our humankind to go, if you want us to degenerate and die, you shouldn't be a leader of any country or any organization or anything like that, right? Now, another thing of one star, and this is kind of like sad, but we got to think about Jesus Christ, the Christ figure, the scapegoat, the worst of the worst. So when I was going through my massacres in life, one thing I identified is it's funny to smolder, right? Like, if you're already getting cooked, you can just cook even harder, and like, other people will freak out, but ultimately, you're okay. You're just smoldering even more. And so you can draw more fire and ire and trouble from others. And this is the thing of, like, imagine if you wanted to be the biggest asshole, the biggest loser, the most annoying person, the this or that, and if it was a competition to be the worst. Clearly, that's not a great way to go about things, but what does that person accomplish? In their own embodiment, they have taken the bullets, they have taken the flak, they have gone down the road for everyone else's benefit. And one star appreciates and grasps the people that have walked the darkest path. And in that fashion, we are spared their fate. A funny example of this, there's a sexologist, Esther Perel, and she came up around the Aughties where everyone had cell phones. And so the big issue was all these teenagers were having nude pictures of each other sent, they were sharing them and all of that. And it was an issue where if your nudes got leaked, like revenge porn, all of that, this is before they even passed revenge porn laws. But if that got leaked, who knows, maybe Betty or Becky ends up doing something rash and dies, right? And so it's really sad. And so one thing Esther Perel suggested, she says, look, to all the parents out there, if you really care about your kids, I suggest you go home and you post naked pictures of yourself on the internet. And, just imagine a world where all of the adults have already posted naked pictures of themselves online. And the teenagers, first of all, if their stuff, like when they're older, if they have like leaks, it's not even an issue. But the other funny thing is that they might be so put off by it because it's like all these that's what, my freaking boomers, nudes online, that's gross. You took pictures of your ass. Like, what are you doing? Get a hobby, right? Now, who knows if it's true, but the one star sensibility that Esther's proposing is if everyone steps into the pit, it is no longer a pit, right? This is like the medieval times where if I said, I don't believe in an afterlife, I don't believe in one God, that would end up having me killed. One star, eventually, people had space to say other things. And so there is some kind of like the tall poppy, right? You have to stand out from the crowd, but then you risk being lopped off. You create space by being different. And by being different, I mean by not living up to the standards of others. And so obviously this taken to its extreme, we would maybe have like San Francisco, where you have all the tent cities and the poop everywhere. And so this kind of like, we'll accept whoever, take you as you are. Sure, you can shoot up here, no problem. Clearly, there has to be some balancing or regulating element with one star that isn't just a complete and utter acceptance of our baser nature. And I guess, see, it's so interesting because you think about one star is 1 out of 5, like it's a little thing, but one star is also just one, it's everything, right? And so for it to be everything, I don't know, I feel like it's like the harmonies have to be balanced out, right? Like eventually all of our human frictions, all of our human differences, I'd like to think we're not beyond finding something with them that doesn't involve a murderous conclusion, right? And so the idea would be with one star in the entire human vessel, our planet, our solar system, that without violence, without murder, we can accommodate and integrate and maybe help, lift up. There's like all these kinds of connotations that I don't want to drag into this of like lifting up or tearing down, but lifting up the lower levels of humanity or this or that, like our baser nature, the people that are more enthralled by their baser nature, we can hope that we can pull them up without a sense of abandonment, without a dismissal of their human spirit and their capacity, right? And I love this idea that as we draw up, we will find more inspiration. We will find more people that can be creatively engaged. Another thing to speak on with this is one star is a response to industrialization. Right now, hold on, drinking time. So, they made the machines so that one person working could do what 10 people working could do, right? Now the next step is they have a machine that can do what 20 people can do with, I don't know, one person that manages 100 machines. Okay, do you follow? So now there's one person that manages 100 machines and 100 machines that manage 20 jobs each, and you get all that. In essence, the industrialization and automation, it's moving ever more quickly toward we just don't need you. And then we're going to have in the Western world, I don't know about the Eastern or like the less developed world, in the modern world, we are going to deal with a crisis of purposelessness and meaninglessness, given that there won't be enough roles and jobs and responsibilities and needs to fulfill. So what are we to do with that, right? A callous industrialist would say those poor people are nothing. We'll just have to create jobs and basically have them become gerbils on wheels, right? Like hamster wheels or something. Get them on an incentive scheme. I don't know, or there's just people that say, let them wallow, let them be like, in essence, humanity becomes cattle. The great global organizations and industries no longer need humans any more than you are a subject that they sell goods to, right? Like you'll sell things to, but really as a human, you're not valued. You are just a downscale element in a bigger organic, mechanistic and organically manifest machine, right? Like there'll be humans and people that will make the industry work, but it really doesn't serve humans. It serves more like solitary masters, right? Like the Jeff Bezos or the Elon Musk, like the big industrialists. Its mission is not for humankind, and we have to understand that. So how then, with capitalism driving everything, what are we to do with maybe the 50% of our population, a third to 50%, as we automate everything, that don't have any reason to exist? Why do I exist? What's my purpose? There's no freaking job for me. There's no, okay, what? I'll do a stupid job and push a button on an elevator for people. No, that's not going to work anymore either. All the grocery store jobs, right? They're going to more and more self-checkout, which I always liked because I like checking out on my own. But you can see that they're narrowing the margin, right? Capitalism, it has given us progress and given us a lot of conveniences, right? But one thing of capitalism is narrowing the margin, and you can't. At some point, you're just running that towel so dry that there's just nothing left, and there will be a band of people that there's just nothing. And what are we to do, right? Not everyone can be a Twitch streamer. Not everyone can do this or that. Not everyone can live on government welfare. I think this is a great opportunity to help people become involved in service with each other, and in essence to usurp a lot of commercial industries, things that commercial industries that survive by taking value out of everyone. And you can usurp that by having people that are providing services or helping each other community-wise. And maybe, it doesn't have, I don't know, like this is like very idealistic, right? But is it barter? Is it just sort of like sharing and provision? Who knows what? But if we find purpose and meaning and engagement through human kindness and service, rather than having it be dictated through money and those incentive schemes or, organizational central power elements, if we're able to connect with the capacity of humans to help each other, and then how much validation, right? How much affirmation and nourishment being a helpful person to another person is, right? That's like better than anything. That's better than any alcohol, better than any heroin, marijuana, whatever. At least for me, right? Like, I'm assuming that other people are just kind of like, happy little flowers that want to help others. Maybe they're malicious and sadistic, and we can find a way to sublimate their impulses to more socially acceptable things, right? Who knows? But the one star, yeah, I hope that I've articulated the different dimensions of a one-star sensibility that you can have. I think it extends compassion to people at their worst. It doesn't mean I don't have to accept somebody doing something awful, but it's something that I can understand and something I can maybe respond to without complete irrationality, right? I can be like, oh, yeah, he's doing that human thing. And if I don't have all of the reactivity and irrationality of somebody that would just be like, oh, he violated our standards. He did, he stepped out of line. He did the thing that you're not supposed to do. How dare he? I need to cut his head off with my machete, right? If we don't have that reaction, if we have the humanistic reaction of like, look, he's doing the human thing. Okay, like, what do I need to do? Do I need to involve myself? Do I not? Is there something else? But there's more creativity that you present to a situation if you perceive the shadow, and sort of like how we're all capable of poor choices. We're all capable of trouble. What I'm having trouble with is how to help then the most menacing of humans, the wolves that have decided that there's specific groups that don't deserve to live, right? What is the humanistic approach with that? I would disempower them as much as possible. I would make them completely uninfluential. I would try to, if they're pursuing, like, I guess you have to disarm, right? It's sad. And I think that's what's going to end up happening. Like, the United States and Israel are slow to the draw on this, but the Israeli state will have to dissolve after this. It can't persist. In the modern world with 2024, Israel will dissolve as a nation, and the Jewish diaspora, Jewish people, will be safer. I guarantee it. Jewish people will be safer without Israel existing. America came out and said that they think a two-state solution is the only way forward, which means that they would have some sort of a Palestinian state, probably in the West Bank, and then reintegrate people that are whoever resides in Gaza still. But the fact that the U.S. spokesperson is still saying a two-state solution must occur, that means you understand Palestinian people cannot exist in Israel. So the United States has said, we acknowledge Palestinians cannot exist in Israel, and we need a two-state solution. That's the most creative thing that the U.S. representative had to say today at the meeting, right? 1 star, no collective guilt, no blood feuding. 1 star, accept our shadow, integrate wellness, and survive our lower nature. This is the peril we face right now. We really do have to, I'll speak lightly, but I can't understate these people are driving us off a cliff, and they don't care because they don't prioritize human life. And so I hope you join me. I hope you can connect with beneficence, connect with well wishes and wellness for humankind. And maybe you can help somebody having a really shoddy time, right? Like maybe you can help somebody get pulled up if they're having trouble. So I have a video queued up. It's kind of spooky, but we'll see. It's Billy Idol. So we'll watch that. I don't know if there's anything else I want to say about 1 star. I don't know when I'll stream next. We'll see. I'm going to try. I know. It's a weird format. I need to start cutting up videos and posting stuff, so we'll see how it goes. All right. I wish you all well. Don't go too hard. And I'll probably stream again tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Until next time, friends.
You make a dip into someone else's pocket, then make a slip. Steal a car. is gone from your eyes, I better realize. Eyes without a face, eyes without a face, eyes without a face. Got no human grace. Eyes without a face, such a human waste. Eyes without a face. It's getting worse.
Oops. All right. Peace and love forever in abyss.